Welcome in. Coming back to watch this all over again. Happy to have you. I'm going to turn the vacuum on. We're going to get started. So, today we're grinding the handles down, flushing up, then going over our 120, 220, 400 router process. There'll be a couple other little special processes in between. I've got some grip tech over here, some fat carbon, and some micarta. We're just going to go ahead and get started. let's switch machines. What's up, everybody? Mr. and Mrs. Outdoors, all of these knives I'm making right now are going to be dropping on the website verygoodknifeco.com this Friday. That's tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Go to a 220 grit. Do the same thing. Now let's move to the small wheel right there. $220. right, now we're going to go right there. Come along, come along. I've got the fat carbon bit in here first. That's what we're going to do to begin with. And right now it's set a little shallow. That should do. Here we go. Change router bits. So that fat carbon is carbon fiber, kind of ruins bits, and that's why I'm changing. I'm just changing back to a new bit, because the one that I use for carbon fiber is not good for my Carta or Grip Tech. We're going to do the Grip Tech first. out of my car. All right, so now everything is routed. But not everything is ready for the next step. We're going to do that now. Let's go to the bench. What's up, everybody? I'm Jacob with Very Good Knife Company, and if you're new in here, welcome in. Happy to have you. Glad you joined us. So, right now, we've got all these knives that we've just gotten through the router. And everything is radiused. All looks beautiful. But not everything is ready to move on to the next step. And the next step is 400 grit and then Scotch-Brite, and that'll pretty much be the end of the knife. After that, it'll be time for sharpening and etching, so then it'll be finished. But micarta is the only thing that I can move along with right now. Fat carbon all has to be hand sanded. The carbon fiber will leave little micro splinters if you don't smooth them all out, so that has to be done. And I've got 3 of those that have to be hand sanded, and then I've got these Grip Tech ones. Now, Grip Tech can be finished up to 400 grit, and it'll feel okay, but in order for me to bring the very best texture that I can out of Grip Tech, it's really just got to be done in the Sandblaster. So we're going to tape up all these Grip Tech and the fat carbon ones, which is just 6 of them, and then we'll go sandblast these handles. And then we'll hand sand these the fat carbon ones. And none of that's going to take too long. Once we get done with all that, then we will pick back up with the rest of these micarta ones. So, come on over to the bench. And what I'm going to do is just tape these blades, because I don't want the whole knife to get sandblasted. I just want the handles to get blasted. And we're even going to finish the rest of the spine out to belt satin as well. So only the scales and the tops of the Corby screws, which are these guys. These are Corby screws. They're not pins, they're actually screws. They're made to look like pins, but this is what they look like. They've got shoulders, and they're 632 threads on the inside. They screw together, and so they're mechanically bonded on there. Then what we do is we cut the head off and grind it flush. That's what we started at the beginning of this live stream. So once they're all taped up, then I like to take my razor blade. Now this is just for the sandblasting part. that I really get critical with this. Because hand sanding all of the tape, I'm just trying to keep scratches off the blade. I mean, that's pretty much what we're doing here. But we're trying to seal out any possibility of sand entering the blade area there. We don't want that because we want that belt satin finish, but we want blasted grip tech. So that's what we're gonna get. So right now I'm just packing that tape down into the face and the ricasso joint down there. And I'm just gonna shove it down in there. That way it's really tight and there's no chance of getting sand down in there or up underneath the tape. We don't want to scratch the blade or anything. We're good around the spine. Now it's going to leave a little line right there, but again, we're going to go back to the grinder with the 400 grit and make it look like this again, because once it's blasted, it's going to be dull matte finish. And so when I'm putting the tape on, I'm leaving extra up against those handle faces as well. The tape kind of runs up. You can kind of see it running up the face. And I want that extra so I can really crease it down in there, cram it down in there. Just like that. Again, we're going to tape the handles on those fat carbon ones. We're not going to get that critical with it because of the nature of the next job. I say we'll go ahead and go do these, and then we'll come back and do the rest. I've got something sharp underneath my shirt. Keep scratching me. Keep feeling it, but I'm not finding it. Okay. Last one, and then we'll go to the sandblaster. And that won't take long. Before we go to the sandblaster, I'm going to cut these shoulders down just a little bit. What I mean by that is right here where this router face meets this router face, or this bevel, this chamfer, this radius, that's the word. Dang, I don't know why it took me that many tries, but this radius right here leaves a super clean, crisp, sharp corner. See that? And we don't want that because that doesn't feel good in the hand. Those little jagged corners kind of make a handle uncomfortable. They give you hot spots. So this grip tech sands super, super easily. That's all we're gonna do. You can hardly even see it. All I did was make it rounded. That's it. That's all I'm doing. And I'm not going super crazy with it either, because we're about to go sandblast. And the sandblaster is going to take a little more material off too. So it's going to blend it even more. Just like that. And it looks kind of funky right now, like I said, because the rest of it is a different texture, it's a different finish. So adding a little bit of dust and some high spots, it's going to look a little weird at first. Once we get it all blasted, you'll see it all blends together. But we just want to start those corners down. Knock them down so they're not sharp. let's see. Can you see the difference between this one and this one? Kinda. This one's still really thin and sharp and pointy. And we'll take I'm just using a 220 grit adhesive backed sandpaper, and it's just stuck to a piece of leather to give me some rigidity. See there? Now they're even again. That's all we did. All right, one more, and then we'll go to the sandblaster. And you guys are just going to be looking at the back of my head for a couple of minutes, because I don't know if you're going to be able to see in the sandblaster. I'll try and set you up so you can see in there, but I can barely see in there. I need to change the screen protector, the glass protector. Very nice. There we go. All right, so now, yes, sir, all the way. I've got something bugging me in here. It's driving me insane. Where are you? It's like a little thin shard of steel. All right, let's head back to the back room, the old dirty room, and get the dust flowing. Now, I've got to, actually, you know what? I'm not even going to. I'm not going to turn the vacuum on. I was going to turn the vacuum on, but I don't think so. Get my air lines moved, hooked up. Every fitting on this thing leaks. Would you believe that sand is not good for things like that? Alright, you guys may or may not be able to see inside here. I seriously doubt it. You can't see hardly anything in here. Alright, there's one. So that's not going to take too long. You guys see. Get some sand down in there. Sometimes you got to give that sand a little jiggle. Two, got one more. Come on. Almost done, guys. We'll go back into the shop. The other side. Okay. That should do it. Now we should have that perfect finish on the grip tech. Turn that off. This up over here because this back room floods. All right, now it's nice and dusty back here. I bet I'm looking dusty too. This sandblaster likes to completely cover you because it leaks from the top. All right. Oh yeah, I'm good and dusty. Completely covered. Give me a second. Now you can't feel it, but you can see everything has a nice, beautiful, even finish now. And basically, what we're going to do now, we're going to leave the Corby screws with that blasted finish because I don't want to, in order for me to finish them, I have to go over with that sanding belt again. I don't want to do that. What's up, Brando? Who else we got in here? Yasser Khan, Alan Tillery. What's up, Alan? What's up, Zach? How's it going? But if you guys have any grip tech at home, if you own any knives with grip tech, you know exactly the kind of feeling that that I'm talking about, that they have right now. The little black granules that you're seeing inside of that grip tech, inside of the resin, all those are exposed at their finest now. They're not excessive, but they're nice and exposed. And what we did with that, like when we finish it down smooth like it was before blasting, everything is nice and flush and level, right? And you can kind of feel that there's a little rubber in there, but when we blast it, what we're doing is we're just taking everything else down a layer, and the rubber just doesn't go anywhere. It just exposes and gets a little grittier and grippier. Yep, that's right, gritty, grippy. That's what it feels like, is gritty, grippy. Feels good. I like it a lot. So these guys are done, and what we'll do now is go ahead and take the tape off. Now, since we're going to run a 400 grit down the spine anyway, then I just take a razor and strip a little tape off of the back, and that allows me to just peel it right off. So some sand sneaks in, but it doesn't sneak in with power. It just kind of gets through the gaps of the tape, like right here. And as long as I'm not blasting on the blade, which I have no reason to do that, we're trying to avoid that, then you're good. Everything's good. You'll see what I'm talking about as soon as we get to finishing these. Before we do that, though, we've got to tape up and hand sand these fat carbon ones. If this dang tape will ever come off. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so see, sometimes the tape will let a little bit of dust in, but it didn't make it in with any pressure, so it just comes right off. Not a big deal. And we're gonna Scotch-Brite those bevels later anyway. So now these guys have that hard line right there. There's a bunch of tape glue on the back. Ain't nothing, no big deal. But see that hard line right there? That's where they were sandblasted and masked off. That's gonna disappear when we get back over to the belt, because we're going to finish the spines all the way out to 400 grit and then a little bit of Scotch-Brite. So we don't have to worry about any of that. All that's going to go away. Get rid of a bunch of that tape glue. So now we've got 7 of them ready to go. Let's get these last 3 ready to go. And these guys have to get hand sanded. They still have to get taped, of course, so I can put them in the vise without scratching the blade. But we're not taking them to the sandblaster, so our tape job doesn't have to be quite as fine. All we want to do is make sure that we're not going to touch that blade with any 220 grit sandpaper in a fashion that would make a bright and shiny scratch. I'm just going to rip all that dust out from underneath there, and we'll give it a tape up. That's all it needs, just like that. So no extra special times in here cramming that tape into the handle face. And I'll show you in just a second. Even if there's a tiny little bit of gapping in between the handle face, like that right there, it's not a big deal, because we're going to we're going to get some sanding up in that area, but not really forcing any air down in there, so it's not that big of a deal. So you can see there's a tiny little gap in there, no problem. Now, if we took this to the sandblaster like that, that little gap would expand, and it would not be good. We're not doing that. Just going to hand sand them. And I like an adhesive backed sandpaper for hand sanding. If it's not self-explanatory enough, there's the back of the sandpaper itself is sticky. That way when I'm sanding, it sticks to my fingers and I'm not fighting the paper and the object that I'm sanding. All right, so I just use a piece of leather and stick it down in the vise. And I make sure I've got the spine centered on those vise jaws. Come on. Just like that. That's one side. Flip her over. Do the other side. So this takes about as long as sandblasting the handles in there. And the end result is essentially the same. A nice even finish. And before we get completely done, Got to do the little shoulders just like we did with the Grip Tech, except this time we're gonna finish them. We're gonna make them nice and neat, which is easier to do with the harder material anyway. So we're just going to smooth over those sharp corners, just like that. Kind of hard to tell. Let's go back to that other view. So this side is knocked down farther than this side. I don't know how you would ever be able to tell that. It's so hard to see it on the camera for me. Maybe you're seeing it differently, but I can't even see it on what I'm trying to show you. The backwards facing camera. Just like that. And guys, if you're really interested in seeing these finished, stick around for just a few more minutes and I'll get them finished. I've just got to get through this hand sanding process, and then these last three are caught up. We'll go back to the grinder and finish them. There we go. Everybody's nice and rounded. This handle is smooth, although it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, again, you can't feel it, but what I'm feeling for is no little stick-ups. Because when they're in this stage before the hand sanding, they feel kind of smooth, but every now right there, you'll catch a little snag, and that carbon fiber will splinter and get into your skin. You don't want that, so we're just gonna knock it all down. Now the micarta, on the other hand, when we run it over the router gives it a really nice rough fluff texture. It fluffs all the fibers of that canvas, and I don't want to change that. I want to leave that for grip, which is why we're not hand sanding or doing anything with those micarta ones that are sitting over there. You guys are probably wondering why no hand sanding or sandblasting. Now I could go sandblast them, but I actually like the finish that the router leaves on the micarta better. It's just me. So here you can see that this side right here is sitting up taller than this side. That's because we sanded this side down. They were even. I do get my steel from New Jersey Steel Baron. Zach is right. Right there. I like them. Been dealing with them for a long time. I got a tickle in my nose that will not go away. All right, we're gonna clamp this one up. I don't know why that just confused me. I saw that piece of leather there. Thought it might have been my vice leather. Ding dong. All right. We've already done the shoulders on this one, so sand the rest of it real good. Make sure she's all smooth. Move on. Got one more after this. It's one side, just a little bit more, and this dude will be done. flung it out of my hands. And it's good to go. I forgot to cut the tape off of that last one. We'll just do this one right now. That's going to be all we need for the hand sanding. Again, you can't see it, but it's nice and smooth now. All right, one more. One more, and this is the forest eye. I haven't even said anything about what kind of fat carbons we got here. We've got 3 green ones. In fact, almost the entire run here is green. There's just two Nat micarta in here. Other than that, everything else is green. This is the forest eye fat carbon, and the forest eye is cool because it only has one color. Everything has black in it. All the fat carbons have black in it of some sort. And then they usually add 2 colors. But this one only has 1 color. And it is like an OD green color. It's really cool. And then the other fat carbons that we've got, that one with the white that I was just working on, that one is the Pines Peak fat carbon. It's got the forest green and then white. It's really nice. It's really nice stuff. And then the last one that I have over there is the Jungle Wear, which is the forest green and like a mint green and black, of course. That one is my favorite fat carbon. All right. There we go. Nope, I've got to do the rest of these surfaces. That's just the shoulders. Last one, hand sanding, and then we'll go back to the grinder and finish all these. And that won't take long because all that's left is the 400 grit and Scotch-Brite. Once we get through with that, then we'll attach us the Scotch-Brite onto the flat platen over there and do all the bevels with Scotch-Brite, give everything its final finish. And once they're all final finished, then we'll sharpen them. And I'm going to go ahead and sharpen them on today's stream because I want it over with. I only have just a handful of sheaths left to mold for these guys, so it won't be long, and this run will be wrapped up too. Now, in case you're wondering, all of these Adventure Juniors that I'm working on today will be dropping on the website, verygoodknifeco.com, tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Very nice. We have no proud pins or anything, nothing snaggy. There we go. Whoop, dropped it. Almost. Okay, let's go back to the grinder and let's finish all these. And before I do that, I gotta get all this junk off of my hands, so give me just a second. I'm gonna go set you guys over here for a second, and I'm going to grab a little soap. Wash my hands right quick in one of these buckets. It's like almost counterproductive because these buckets are just not. I'm trying to pick like the least nastiest one. But I don't have running water up here at the shop just yet, so. Alright, so again, all that's left is 400 then Scotch-Brite. We're going to start over on the small wheel. Alright, at least I'm not transferring black. My hand's not super clean because that bucket water is the opposite of clean. But now my hands aren't full of black, and I'm not going to be transferring all that carbon dust into the grip tech, which is what I'm worried about. The micarta will take some of it, but the Scotch-Brite will kind of clean it up. But the grip tech being tacky, it'll just take all of that black off of my hands. I'll never get it off. So there we go. We won't be transferring any of that black sanding dust from the fat carbon. Alright, and since I only have 10 here, I'm going to go grab my little caddy. And then we'll go ahead and get started. Grab my mask. Go ahead and mask up. And let me grab, let's move over here. I'm going to go to the small wheel first. Grab all these up and put them in my caddy. So they're all kind of wiggling around and we won't touch each other. We're going to be moving right into sharpening anyway, so just go ahead and get them in there. Alright, 400 grit on the, oops, still clear. 400 grit, and we're going to start on the underside of the handles. Do you mind? There. Okay, here we go. So, remember that sandblasting up underneath? Now it's gone. Just like that. Tradition Junior, or a Heritage. Hey, thanks for stopping by at Blade Show. Go. Nice and clean. I'm going to run through the rest of these. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. There we go. Let that come on down to stop, and then we'll go ahead and change out to Scotch-Brite. This is going to be the final finish for these, at least for this particular wheel. There we go. See, that leaves a nice, beautiful finish. I'm going to run through the rest of these. 2, Just a second, I'll show you all of them. Alright? Now, all that fat carbon's nice and clean. You kind of see that line there. And that is where the Scotch-Brite was just hitting. So the Scotch-Brite cleans the fat carbon pretty good. We're done with the small wheel. I'm going to take this Scotch-Brite belt off and hang it on my cart. So we're going to go to the big wheel now. Remove the 220. Put our 400 grit on. Change out our blunt sleeve. Run it. Okay. So again, I don't want to hit the sides on these, just these ones. But I will hit the spine. Just like that. Good deal. There we go. Nice and clean. Alright. That's it for the grip tech. Now for my Carta. And my Carta will hit the side because I want those Corby screws to have a nice 400 grit finish as well. Nice. The only thing left to do to the micarta now, we'll hit those shoulders. Like that. Cut them down, clean them up. Go. Nice and clean. We'll hit our sides real good. Make sure our Corby screws are nice and flush and clean. 400 grit finish. Nice. 2 more. Alright, looking nice. What's up, Larry? Nice, nice. All right, now we got to hit them with the Scotch-Brite. That's it for the 400. This is the last step for the handles. See that beautiful finish? That's it. For the grip tech, it's just the spine. All the way around where we didn't get with the small wheel. That's it, just like that. So now you can see that little small line on the side. That's the only part that got touched. The rest of this handle is still bead blasted and has a beautiful textured finish. Okay. Just like that. Now, my Carta, we're going to get the sides of the handle and the spine all the way down to the point, tip, just like that, and then we're going to hit those shoulders that we hit earlier, just like that. Make sure they're nice and cleaned up. So, Corby screws are shiny, spine is shiny, everything's good. Same thing for the rest of those micarta. Sides. And we're not wanting to touch the radius. We want this rough, and it's still nice and rough and textured. We just want the sides nice and clean and the spine nice and clean. There we go. contact just the spine. Micarta is spine and flat. And then fat carbon will actually be doing the bevel, the radius, everything, the whole surface of the handle. Like that. One last micarta. Go. Looking clean. Alright, and for the fat carbon, it's kind of hard to tell. This is before. See, it doesn't really have any sheen to it. There's no, a little bit right there. But this side, see that? The Scotch-Brite really cleans all the black dust out of there. We want the radius and all. I want all parts of this fat carbon to get clean. Like that. There we go. Couple more. So now this one you might be able to see it a little better. See, that one's kind of dull looking. Now that one's bright and flashy. See that? A little dull, bright and flashy. Go. Beauty. When these are all done, when we're done sharpening and everything, put some oil on them and you'll really be able to see the colors. There we go. One more step for these knives as far as a finish goes. And that is over here at the flat plate. And I'm going to change the plate out right quick to the free plate. Open up our other vacuum, and we're going to put the Scotch-Brite blades on. Now we're going to do the bevels. I'm going to slow the speed down just a little. And now we'll clean our bevels. So here's the before. And remember, these are all finished to a 400 grit. That's what we did yesterday. Yeah, there's a vacuum system in the other room. These are finished to a 400 grit, but they're not clean. I'm gonna clean them. like that. Yeehaw! And I'm going to hit my under spine right there. And the little shoulder chamfers. This knife's ready to be sharpened. So, a couple times on that side, a couple times on this side. Hit our under spine, shoulder chamfers. There we go. Nice and clean now. So right now they're nice and shiny, but there's still a little dust on them. It's not a problem, we'll get that off at the end. Do our final cleaning. Very nice. Then we'll sharpen. There we go. So now, all we're going to do is sharpen. And we'll do that right here at this grinder. I'll go ahead and I'm going to change the speed first. that belt, and the vacuum's not really going to help us at the minute. So somebody asked about the vacuum, and I'll show you right quick before we get to this, started on the sharpening. But I'm going to get set up for sharpening first. So this is my sharpening rig. It's just a home-built rig based and inspired by the Tormach system. Used to have a Tormach, well, we had a T4 and T8 at the Jake shop, and I actually like the belt edge a little better. I feel like it's a little more, well, it's a lot less time consuming for one, and it's very easy, but I do like the slightly convex edge as opposed to the hollow edge that you get with a Tormach system. So it just uses this clamp. This is just a piece of blade steel or tool steel. I don't know what it is anymore because it got painted black and the markings on the steel that denominated what it was are no longer legible. So it gets used for tools, not blades anymore, because I don't know what it is. All right, so the vacuum system's pretty simple. All three grinders have a vacuum chute, and each chute can come off. I can remove the chute and set it down up underneath, and then I can place one of these steel buckets in those hangers, and that's what I use for grinding anything with heavy sparks, because what I don't want is a whole bunch of hot steel dust going down into those lines. It'll catch it all on fire. We don't want to do that. Besides, this right here builds up very fast, and it's nothing but nitro VN 80 CRV2 dust. So all three of these lines right here can be blocked off with their own plate, and rather than like a ball valve or a block valve or anything, I just put a plate over the top of them and block them off. And what that'll do is send the vacuum to another open spot. So if I close all of them off, I can run the bandsaw down here. Now the bandsaw is, see, the line runs up against the wall underneath. I have a ball valve to the bandsaw right here. The bandsaw runs on its vacuum line when all the other ones are shut off. Now I can open them up, but it won't get as much suction. So I just close all the other attachments off, and now the bandsaw is open. And considering I don't ever use the bandsaw whilst I'm in the middle of using all the other machines, it works out just fine like that. And the vacuum is actually back here in the other room. Here is the vacuum. The vacuum runs out through the wall. The grinders are right here on the other side of this wall. And this runs to a Y at the vacuum. At the vacuum, I've got two different blast gates. That blast gate that's open, that one runs to the inside. I can close that blast gate and open up this blast gate, and this line right here runs to the tent. You can see this runs up and over to the Cerakoting booth. That's where I Cerakote. And then this line right here is an extra, and this line runs to the Sandblaster. And I will eventually hook another line up to the other Sandblaster when I get it put up in here. So that's what the vacuum system looks like. It's pretty simple, and it sure does help. It doesn't do everything though. There's everything in here still covered in dust. It's just not as bad. And when you clean out the vacuum, you'll see why. But that is once a couple months. That's what I got to do, is clean it out once every couple of months. So hopefully everybody is still in and watching. It looked like we just bombed out right there. I don't know what happened. Hopefully I didn't lose the stream. Usually when we drop in massive numbers like that, the stream shut down. No worries, I'm gonna keep on going. All I've got left to do with these knives is to sharpen them and then etch them. I didn't bring my computer today like a ding dong. I don't know why. But the missus might bring it here just a little bit. Or not, I don't care. It doesn't matter today. I gotta sharpen these. I gotta sharpen these all up, and we're gonna do that with 400 grit belt. It's a brand new 400 grit belt, and we'll run it on super slow speed. What I'm gonna do, all right, sounds good. We'll do some etching after this too then, because we're not that far into this live stream. This is a brand new belt, and when they're new, they are a little stiff, and the edges like to curl. So I'm taking the crunch out of it. You can probably hear that crunch. There we go. Made it all the way around. All right, here we go. I'm going to start on sharpening, and this couldn't be any more simple. Got my clamp here. Loosen that center nut. And then I always start by tightening the center one down first. That's our fulcrum bolt. And then we'll tighten down the set screw in the back. Considering all these blades are the same thickness, we won't have to change that center screw adjustment again. We'll just undo this one. So clamp, show you. There's that nice edge. And you can't see it, I'll never be able to show it because it's too dang, it's, yes sir, Tormach inspired, yeah. And the edge has got a nice burr all the way down. Too small for me to show you. Now that we've got a burr established, all we got to do to get it sharp is strop it. Before we do that though, I'm going to go ahead and put an edge on the rest of these. And I'll probably do 6 and then change the belt. And all I'm looking for is even on the point, even at the termination down here. Making sure we just have a nice clean edge all the way down. Just like that. Nice and clean. That's two. Looking nice. Three. Very, very nice. 400. halfway. Look at that one. Super clean. Five more. Then we'll go strop and play with the sharpness a little. I'll show you what it looks like. Show you how sharp they are. My belt is starting to weather a little, so I'm going to go ahead and change it. Put a new belt on. Ooh. Quick belt change. We're going to do the same thing that I did with that last belt and break the belt in. Hear that crunch? I don't want that crunch. Alright, made it all the way around. Here we go. Last four. Go. One. Well, that's 7. 3 more. Super clean. Just the fat carbon left. Sharpen up. Super nice. All right, one more. One more edge to do. Then we'll go strop all these. Yep, I'll show you here in just a second. Let me get through this last one and we'll go do all that. I don't hone them, I just deburr and strop. And we'll get them super sharp. Last one, then we'll go strop. There it is. All right, let's go strop them now. See how sharp we'll get. Set that off to the side. Here's our last one. Nice clean little edge. Now, we go to the buffer. So I use a cotton wheel for stropping on my buffer. I've been using it for many years. Just a cotton wheel. I've tried cardboard, I've tried leather. I still like cotton because it's soft. It's easier to not over strop it. So what I do is I rake the wheel real good and fluff it up so I can add a bunch of compound. We're going to add compound to it and then we'll give it a strop. And all we're trying to do is clean that burr up. We don't want to completely delete the burr. Here's a nice thin paper towel. Ready? If I can keep this from running away from me. It just keeps trying to blow away. Stay. Needs a little more. Plenty sharp. Come on now. Plenty sharp, huh? This is a fine compound. It's not an ultra fine. It's just a fine compound. It's a white. That's it. Let's see. Woo! Sharp, sharp. All I'm doing with my fingernail there is to feel for the burr. I want to feel a constant and smooth, steady drag, but I don't want to feel a slick, icy drag. Because what that means is I've polished off the burr, and what that'll do is that'll give us a extremely sharp edge that'll just go dull faster. So I don't want that. I do still want that burr to be there. I just want it clean. And I want all the excess dropped off. Just like that. Just about. There we go. Plenty sharp, huh? 4 more and then we'll go look at them. I'm going to go put some color on them. When I say putting color on them, I mean put oil on them, which brings the color out. Three more. There's those fat carbon ones. This one's the Pines Peak. White and green, pretty sweet. Nice and sharp. 2 more. Not much to hold on to this one, but let's see. Plenty sharp. Plenty sharp. Last one. Then we'll go take a look at them. Miss VGKC just walked in. Got a little warmer in here. All right, last one. And we'll split this little micro piece of paper towel here. I think it can go just a little more. Split this microscopic piece of paper towel now. Sharper. There we go. That's it. Now, I can get rid of this mask, which makes me so happy, because I hate it. I hate the mask. It drives me nuts. Wears a blister on my nose after wearing it all day. Let's go to the bench. Let's lay out some towels and let's lay down some color onto these knives. So, yeah, I'm not going to get to that signature series this week. Oh well. So, now we're going to just spray some WD-40 on these. And that's, I'm going to let it sit there for just a second and let it kind of drip off all the dusts and junk. So, see how they're kind of dull looking? See that color coming out now? These you couldn't really tell before, but they're OD green Grip Tech. Just like that. Stand them all up, let all that junk drip off. All that dust is what I'm wanting to get off. The WD-40 will get up underneath that. Whatever little like tape glue is still kind of lingering on some of these. There's always something left on the surface. And we'll just blast them real good with that WD-40. I use this stuff like it's free. It's very much not free, but goes a long way. So I was feeling green today. I was definitely feeling green because I just picked all these handles today, this morning. I was trying to think of it yesterday and figure out which I wanted to do. Sean Zanino was in here yesterday, and he was he's like, put some Grip Tech on there. So Grip Tech, 3 of them got. Here is that first one in the Flow Green Grip Tech. Nitro V Adventure Junior. There it is. This thing is super awesome. And as I wipe them down, I'm going to put them back into that carrier, into my little caddy. And then we're going to go in there to the laser. And I'll show you what that process looks like. And that's the last step for these knives. Once they're lasered, they're ready to stuff into a sheath and ready to get dropped. So there is the OD Green Grip Tech. This stuff is killer looking. I love it. Pretty sweet. I've got 2 of those. Just 1 of the Flow Green and then 2 OD Grip Techs. So 3 Grip Tech Adventure Juniors total. I don't think I've done any Gen 2 Grip Tech Adventure Juniors yet. I have done a couple of Gen 3 Grip Tech Adventure Juniors. I know Ken Faulkner has one. He got that at Blade Show. There's that other OD Grip Tech. Pretty sweet. And then, of course, we've got some micarta. These 2 are the only ones that are not green this week. Everything else has some kind of green on it. And if I had double green, I would have done double green instead of the Nat micarta. But I love the Nat micarta. It's been a good color for the Adventure Juniors. So there's that Nat micarta. I've got 2 of those guys. Pretty sweet. There's that other one. And then we've got 2 Adventure Junior Nitro V in the classic green, not the double green, but this is just the classic OD green. Well, more just like less of a drab, or hell, it's not really much of an olive green at all. They call it OD, but it's just like a classic green micarta. This is what I've been using for a long time. It's from Current Composites, USA made. Classic green. I've got 2 of those. Here's the other one. Pretty sweet. And then, stars of the show. We've got 3 in fat carbon, and 3 different kinds of fat carbon, but all 3 are green of some sort. This one is the Pines Peak fat carbon. It's got some white in it. Pretty sweet. It's got some white. It's got a lot of white in it. I said some white. It's pretty white. It's got a lot of white in it. This is my favorite fat carbon. This is the Jungle Wear. Still my favorite. There's some other fat carbons that are mind-blowing, but this is what I have on my Tradition Junior Nitro V that I carry in my pocket all the time. I love the Jungle Wear. I love the dark forest green and the mint green like that. I think it's fantastic looking. Just one of these guys. And last but not least, we've got, this is the Forest Eye fat carbon. And the Forest Eye is cool because they only used 1 color in this one. Now, all fat carbons have some sort of black in them, but most of the other colors or variants, they all have 2 colors on top of the black. They have 2 colors. This one only has 1, and it is an OD green. So it's like an OD green and black. This is the Forest Eye fat carbon. Absolutely killer looking. There we go. That's all of them for the week. Pretty nice looking run, eh? It's definitely green. I was feeling the green, and green's what we got. So, all right, now the only thing left to do to these knives is to laser them, to laser our Very Good Knife Co. logo on them, and we'll do that now. So we got to bring them into the other room, and you guys give me just a second to get my laser on and running, get my computer up and running. Okay. I use Lightburn for my program, and my laser is a Commarker B4 20 watt. It's a fiber laser. And then we'll just go to medium logo. Then I've got to get my focus in. And so this laser will actually frame up my logo. Here. Let's turn you guys around. So it'll frame up the logo just like that. And it's kind of being weird on the camera because of the frame rate, I guess, but That's what it'll look like. And then we'll just hit start. There we go. Just like that. It takes a minute and 50 seconds, roughly, for the standard size. This is downsized by just a little bit, which I'm thinking of doing on everything. It's just downsizing the logo just a little. Anyway, there you have it, guys. You've seen those from start to finish. That was pretty cool. Once that one finishes, then I'll show it to you. But the only other thing left to do is, once the knife is engraved, then we've got to do the sheaths. And the sheaths are simple. While that's still going, I'll show you how the sheaths are done. So I have made a whole bunch of molds for all of my models. This is an Adventure Junior mold, and it's got a master handle. I can take this off. I've got a whole box full of molds sitting up there, and this right here is what the mold looks like. It goes in around a hot piece of Kydex, or inside of a hot piece of Kydex, down into these taco presses, and we'll just kind of stuff it down in there and then clamp it shut. When it comes out of the mold, when it comes out of the press, it looks like this. This is exactly what it looks like here. And here, I'll put this back in too. So that's what it comes out looking like, just like that. And the sides will kind of be stuck together. So I'll take my scribe here, and I'll stick it down in there and give it a little swipe. It'll come apart. We'll pull it off, just like so. And then what I'll do is I will take this block here, set it here on this block, and I use this tool that marks 5 spots at a time on 1/2 inch spacing. Give it a bop. 1 hole on the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here. That's what that is. What? The shade, I guess. That's what that's going to look like. So that's where our holes are going to get drilled. Let me switch this blade out. So here is that finished logo. That's what it looks like. Pretty dang sweet. The only thing left on this one is the other side. On the other side, it'll say Adventure Junior Nitro V. Once I get through all of the primary side, then we'll do that. But we've still got 9 more to go for the primary logo. So all I do is just swap the blade out, stick a new one in, line it up where it needs to be, and hit start. Then we can walk away, go do something else while we're waiting on that. And what's next is the sheaths. Usually I'll sit here and do a bunch of etching while I'm doing sheaths. I've already got a couple molded, just not all of them. Move all this stuff off of my drill press plate. Clean it up real good. And make sure that our drill is all the way out to the edge of this plate. Drill our holes. Just like that. Then we come back in here. Now, I don't usually do this one at a time. I always make sure to fill my cart up over there with a bunch of sheaths and do them a step at a time for all of them, because one at a time is just too much back and forth walking, and it's just a pain in the butt. So We don't want to do that. But for the sake of this demonstration, we'll just do one at a time. That's what it's going to look like. The eyelets are not smushed just yet. So then we come over here to the press. And before I do, swap this other one out. It's finished. Alright, now that other one can be lasering. Crunch, 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 and crunch. Everything's crunched. Nice and cleanly crimped. Even. Alright, once they're all crimped and eyeletted, the only thing left to do is to cut the sheath out and finish it. I got grip tech everywhere. Just like that. So there's the shape that we want. And I'll have to do a little bit of modification on my machines right quick. Put this away. Get rid of you. Put our, not that one, this one. Get rid of you. And I'll put you back on. Alright, now we have our final shape. That's as tight as I want to get to those eyelets. And now we just got to clean all that junk off. So I'm going to have to take my sharpening rig off of this grinder. Real simple. Just remove the bolts out of this. And it comes right off. Okay. Now we'll put our Kydex Scotch-Brite on. Before we do, I'm going to change the speed back to our full speed. Just that there for a minute. All right. Now we're just going to take the sheath and clean it up. I go once that way, and then I'll go backwards. Catch those little burrs. Just like that. This sheath is almost finished. What I'm going to do is, now, right now it's full of junk, and they always get that way. Clean myself up, clean that sheath up, and there's always some junk that gets stuck down in that little gap right there. So I always take the razor blade and pull it out, just like so, and then spray it real good. Let's go over to the other end of the bench where the heat gun is, and we'll finish this sheath. So This sheath only needs a thumb ramp and a little bit of lasering, and it'll be finished. I always laser VGKC right here, but it takes 2 seconds, literally 1.9 seconds on the laser. It goes zip, zip across it, and it's done. Gonna turn our heat gun on and do a thumb ramp right quick. And remember, all this happens multiple sheaths at a time. One sheath at a time takes longer. One knife at a time takes longer. One everything at a time takes longer. When I'm doing them in batches, it always goes a little smoother. So all I want to do is heat up just the very end of this, and then I'm going to flare it out just like this. Just like this. There's your thumb ramp. And then the inside right here, you see how it kind of dips in? I'm going to flare that out too. When I make myself some new molds, I will make the molds to where they mold like this and not like this. See this? This is what we want, self-guiding. This is not what we want. But it only takes just the tiniest little bit over the heat gun to correct it. And now it's finished. Turn that heat gun off. That is a finished sheath. That's all it takes to make a finished sheath. It's really that simple. And here we go. Ready? No adjustment at all. This one will need just a tiny little bit of adjustment, because it does have here that little, it's almost not even there though, but you can see the sheath is definitely free. There's no binding, sliding, scratching. Everything's good. It's really nice and clean. And some of them, sometimes my card is thinner than other my cards. They'll fit perfect, like this one. It's that Grip Tech. Nice click. Good to go. There you go. That's it. That's all there is to it. So now all I've got to do is sit here for the rest of the day and laser all the rest of these. And I'm not going to change the laser around. I have to change the focus of the laser because the sheath sits in a different spot. The focus is just up and down. But once I get all the sheaths done, it'll take me a whole probably minute and a half to etch all of them. It may not even take that much. I mean, it's as fast as I can feed them. It literally takes 2 seconds. This takes 2 minutes. The sheath lasering takes 2 seconds. So, and then after they're lasered, the only other thing that all of these will get is our strap. We'll put a strap on there. Run it through the second to top eyelet. And where's my screwdriver? Second to the top eyelet. Run a stud and a button stud and a screw on the other side. And that'll be it. These will be put in a box. The last part of my job is to fold up an S974 box from Uline, and these guys will go in here. Of course, the sheath will be etched, and these will say Adventure Junior Nitro V on the other side. These knives will go home. That's it. It's a finished product at this point. Pretty neat, right? I think so. Glad you guys get to see it all and get to see it all being done here on live stream. I think it's pretty cool. I know there's a lot of people starting to do it now, but there hasn't seemed to be a whole lot of knife making live streams in history, so at least nobody's showing this many processes constantly. And certainly no companies showing this many processes. So anyhow, once I get through the rest of these with the Very Good logo on the other side, then we'll do the other side where it says Adventure Junior Nitro V. They're all the same, so they're all going to say the same thing. Then we'll etch the sheaths, or finish and etch the sheaths, and we'll be done. As always, I appreciate all your support no matter how big or small, and I appreciate you tuning in today. Guys, if you really like this content, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button if you have not done so already. And if you like it even more than that, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell on the channel. It'll let you know when I'm going live again, which is as much as I could possibly do it. I'd do it every day if I could. Sometimes I just don't seem to have the right flow for a day. But if you guys want to see any of these knives, I have knives in stock at verygoodknifecode.com. Mrs. VGKC graciously put us that link in the chat there. And all of these knives, these Adventure Juniors that you saw me finish up today, these guys are all dropping tomorrow, Friday, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the website, verygoodknifecode.com. I'll see you there. I appreciate all you guys tuning in. Thank you guys for your support, no matter how big or small. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.